For a brand to come from of service rather than ego, that is where you win.
Growing up, we used to say, would you rather be famous or respected in your field? Famous or respected in your field, famous or, and we usually come back to, I want to be respected in my field. I want other people to know, who do what I do, to like what I do. But the older I get, the more, and that's always the selection you pick. The older I get, the more I'm like, it's a circle jerk. I don't care what the other people in my profession think that I do. I want to be effective. My third, I don't care about famous. I don't care about being respected in my field. I want to be effective outside of my field.
Correct.
And that's where I think a lot of people get stuck in the, well, my field likes me. Who cares?
But then that becomes a game of ego, do you know, in terms of like, wow, I got to go back to Hungry Jack's, Burger King. I've got a piece of work out that everyone's talked about. Do you know what I mean? Aren't I sort of famous in my particular field, or everyone respects me? Versus how effective, I'd rather go in and just go, I have 10x this brand over 18 months through my strategy, and everyone just goes, I don't remember the strategy at all. And I go, I don't care. Look at the revenue.
And that's what I can't go to science. Science is nothing but a global circle jerk. Most scientists want respect and citations from other scientists. And you're actually ostracized when you step out of there and say, but what impact are we having on the real world? And I came up through science, and so I get it, is I want to be respected in my field. I want everyone who does brain stimulation to think about me and say, man, that guy does good work. Why? It took me years to figure out, but that's literally a group of 200 people who do nothing but talk to each other. Are we healing people? No. Are we changing the world? No. Are we impacting education? No. So what do? I realized, screw it. Third option, let's go make an actual impact. Now I go out there, I'll work with 1,000, I'll impact 1,000 teachers in a year versus 0. And I actually get shit on by my crew. The science people are like, oh, you're popular. You're out there in the world doing pseudoscience. It's like, no.
I'm actually creating change.
I'm just not looking for your validation anymore. I'm out there. And so when we all die, it's more important to have that impact. What is the goal for this? If your goal is ego, sweet, you're doing your thing. But if your goal is to better the world, to impact how people think and work, then that's got to be your outcome.
But isn't that legacy? Like, you're talking, the bigger the change you have to more people, that is legacy.
It's the switch from the warrior's journey to the king's journey. So take all your narratives, take all your stories, your archetypes. Most people in their 20s and 30s sit in the warrior narrative, walking through the hero's journey. I need to discover who I am. I need to establish my identity. I need to show that I can take on the world with my resources. That's an awesome narrative. But as you start to get older, you necessarily switch into the king's narrative, which is, okay, who cares about me? Enough. Now I got to outward look, and I've got to establish a legacy. What impact am I having on the wider world? How is this going to change based on the actions I do? And that's where I think most of the ego-based stuff I used to do was exactly what I needed to do. Was I want respect from people in my field. Why? Because that's me establishing my identity. I don't care. I'm going to die now. Now my thing is, what is my legacy? What am I going to leave?
What an interesting point. Because now you go into business, commerce, brand, marketing, advertising. If you come with ego, I want to create something that I can be proud of, that I can show my peers and I get validation from, it's serving me.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, how do I solve more people's problems? How can I be more effective on mass? I don't care about what the perception is. I just want the outcome. That is the ultimate service, because you help more people. So for a brand to come from of service rather than ego, that is where you win, you know, especially not only from impact, but where it counts from a business perspective, which is, you know, the P&L.
Take ultimately. The king's archetype. Maybe that becomes our new thing, the king's archetype, because that's it, is how am I of service? Because it's the weirdest thing. You realize you're going to die, and no offense, no one's going to remember us in 100 years. So you've really got two massive choices. I mean, think about how many people can you name from the 1800s? Full up. 20?
Dozen probably at best.
And this is where you're like, that's an entire century, and I'm pulling out maybe 20 names. Ego and personal identity don't last. Legacy lasts. I can tell you what's changed because of what has happened in the 1800s.
But if you look at it, and I'd suggest that every individual that you name will have come from a place of service rather than a place of ego.
Because the changes they wrought were so, we won't know about them. I can't tell you when they were born. I can't tell you what they liked, what they ate, but I can tell you what impact they had.
Einstein wasn't there for his own good. He was there trying to serve. You literally pick any, Isaac Newton wasn't there for himself. It was there to serve.
This could become a little segment on the show called The Warrior versus the King. And we could find ads like the Burger King one, which says, here's a warrior, here's ad people, creatives trying to impress each other.
Well, how fascinating, because if you tie that back from a warrior, because it's all about us, look what we've done, no preservatives, big, bold, got a lot of name, rather than king, in terms of how do you educate consumers, this is what preservatives do. If you're after the best vehicle for yourself, health and nutrition angle, do you know what I mean? That is serving people, and you're creating product that now serves people rather than, and I think that's where the narrative has actually been missed.